When I first started simplifying my finances, it felt anything but simple. And I hear this so many times from people who just feel overwhelmed by getting everything in order that they wish that the whole process was simple. If your personal finances feel complicated, then that's just a signal that you need to make some adjustments so that you can automate your savings and investment habits so that you're investing smarter and not harder. If you're new here, I'm Pietro Conti, and I've worked in investment banking and finance for the past 10 years. On this channel, we talk about making smart personal finance decisions to help you achieve your self-development goals faster. And if that's something that you're interested in, you should consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video. All right, let's get into it. The first step towards simplifying your finances is, number one, track what your spending habits are today. And what I mean by that is literally go through your bank statements, go through your credit card statements, and go through every transaction that you've done for the last couple of months and just observe what it is that you're spending money on. This is important. Every month you need to do this. Observe what it is that you're doing. Don't judge, just see where it is that you're spending your money, because so many people don't know how many subscriptions that they have for services that they don't use anymore. They don't realize how much it is that they're spending on coffee. They don't know how much it is that they're spending to go grab beers or drinks with their friends. Spend like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, go through every transaction. Just think to yourself, what did I do that for? Where was I? Make sure that you're familiar with where your money is going so that you have a sense for what your habits are and that you can eventually take a step back and start to think, okay, is this something that I need to do? Or is this something that was one time? Or is this something that I find myself doing all the time? If you don't know where your money is going, you're not going to be able to make any changes. If you're always shooting from the hip every month and not sure where it is that your money's going, then you're not going to be able to make the changes so that you can simplify and make better decisions going forward. Once you have this foundation set, the next thing that you need to do is identify where your unnecessary expenses are. If you've been going through for the last couple of months and just tracking to see where your money is going, you're probably starting to become aware of what it is that you're actually using versus not. If you have 10 different streaming service subscriptions and only use one or two of them, you should probably consider canceling the others. But if you don't check what it is that you're spending your money on, you might be spending $10 a month on 5 different services that starts to accumulate and turn into real dollars. If you find yourself spending hundreds of dollars on Postmates every month, then maybe you should consider cutting some of that out and actually making some meals at home. I think you would be very surprised to find out that that can end up saving you hundreds of dollars every month by just making a small change that you might not have even been aware that you were doing. If you are going to the cafe so that you can get a $5 coffee every day, guess what? That's $150 worth of coffee that you're spending over the course of a month, and you might not even have realized it. You can invest in getting some high quality beans for $20 and get that once a month, and that'll be your coffee fix for the month. And just like that, you saved $100+ per month. But it might not sound like much, but these small habits that you can tweak over a long enough period of time will accumulate into being real dollars. Even small things like going to the vending machine when you're at work, getting coffee, or just letting some subscriptions lie. If you can tighten that up to end up saving yourself a couple of $100s a month, that can end up being thousands of dollars over years. And as you start to train yourself to think in that mindset, what do I actually need? What's unnecessary? What you'll realize is that you have more dollars in your pocket so that you can turn around and be more intentional with where you're spending your money so that you can get the highest return on investment for the everyday decisions in your life. The next tip I have to simplify your finances is to automate your savings. So many people just save the dollars that they have left over after they've spent everything else and don't have a consistent approach to saving and investing. By setting it and forgetting it, you will put maybe an hour's worth of work up front so that you don't have to think at all going forward about where it is that your dollars are going, and you're going to make sure that you're paying yourself first. So what I recommend doing is take 20% of your paycheck every month, whatever your take-home pay is, and set it up to automatically move into a savings account. I recommend a high yield savings account for your emergency fund so that you can build up to have 6 months worth of expenses saved in case of an emergency. But the way that you do it is you open up the high yield savings account and you can set up automatic transfers to happen at the first of the month or the 30th of the month after every paycheck, and just set it so that 20% of your take home pay ends up going immediately into that account, and set it so that it's that way until it ends up fulfilling your goal of whatever 6 months worth of savings is for you. Another tip that I have is max out what your 401k is from your company and max it out to whatever it is that the company is going to match. So if your company will match whatever you contribute up to 2%, you should set within your retirement account to save 2% of every paycheck so that it'll automatically go in there. You don't have to think about it. And as the years progress and accumulate, you will be saving automatically. And also you're just getting free money from your company. Once you have your 401k set up, once you have your high yield savings account for your emergency fund set up, then with whatever leftover money that you have, you're still saving 20% of your paycheck. Once you max out your high yield savings account, then you'll have some money to be able to invest. What I recommend doing is opening up your brokerage account or whatever your investment platform is, and find some low cost index funds that you can invest in. The S&P 500 is a great one to get started with, and just set it up so that you are constantly investing the same amount every month. And so what you're doing by doing that is dollar cost averaging your way into the market, which means if you're putting the same amount in every month, as the market goes up, you'll be able to participate in the upside of the market every month by contributing your dollars into it. And as the market goes down, what you're actually doing is you have the chance to buy in your investment strategy at a discount, because if you believe that investing long-term into this strategy will return 10% a year for you over a long enough period of time, then every time the market goes down, it's actually a great buying opportunity where you're buying into your investment with conviction at a cheaper price, so that as the market goes up, then you will be able to get a higher return on your investment. But there's no way to time the market. And so the best way to do it is to automate your investing approach. Set it, forget it. The first of the month or whatever works for you will be the best time to keep investing into the market every month. And then you will be able to see over the course of a couple of years how your money accumulates and how you can maximize your return even better than if you were to just take a set amount of dollars and invest it all at once. The next tip that I have is to set a realistic budget that you're actually going to use. If you took my advice before and you're automated your savings where 20% of your paycheck is going into savings or your investment account, then you have 80% left to manage your finances. What I recommend doing is following the 50-30-20 approach. The 20% is the savings. You pay yourself first, get that to the side. And with 50% of your take-home paycheck, you should manage what your needs are. Make sure to manage what your rent is, your car, your insurance, gas, groceries, anything that you need, live day to day. And if you go back to my first tip where you're tracking your expenses, then you should start to have a sense for what is actually necessary for your life. And so what you need to learn how to do is to operate within 50% of your take-home pay to manage your expenses. If you're finding yourself not able to stay within 50% to handle your needs, then you need to consider where it is that you're spending too much money. Maybe you're spending too much money on rent. Maybe you got a brand new car and it's really eating into you being able to live within your 50%. So you're going to need to make some adjustments and make some decisions in your life about what's really the best thing for me long term. What's the most responsible decision for me, and make adjustments necessary. For so many people, I can tell you that the three buckets where people are overspending the most is rent, because they want to have the nicest place possible, 2, getting a brand new car, or even worse, leasing a car and spending hundreds of dollars a month. And number 3 is on going out to eat instead of making food at home. So if you can't operate within 50%, then you need to take a step back, look at those 3 buckets and decide where you can make adjustments so that you can start to operate within that framework. And so once you're living within 50% of your take-home pay on your necessary expenses, then you have 30% to do whatever it is that you want to do. This will be where you go on your vacations. This will be where you end up going out with your friends. This will be where you end up going out to the bars and concerts and just having fun, you can do whatever it is that you want with this money. But it's important to note that 30% is the last bucket here. And so once you've taken care of paying yourself and once you've taken care of operating on your needs within a responsible framework, then you'll know how much money you have to go out and have fun. If you can operate within this framework and just set a realistic budget for yourself, then you're going to be able to, number one, be responsible and take care of what it is that you need to do. And number two, understand what's appropriate so that you can live within your means and still have fun going out with friends and family. And the last tip that I have here is to set clear expectations for what your short and long-term goals are. This is where the planning portion comes in for your personal finances. And you want to simplify it to the extent that you can. As far as short-term goals go, number one, you need to make sure that you manage your debt accordingly. If you have any outstanding credit card debt, your number one priority should be paying that down immediately. That will be a hamper on your pocket that is very difficult to come out of if you let it linger. So before anything else, make sure that you pay down your credit card debt. As far as your next short-term goals, just evaluate what the rest of your debt is. If you took out a loan to pay down your car, that's something that's a little more long-term. So make sure that you have the dollars set aside so that you can pay that down appropriately. If you have student debt, you definitely want to make sure that you can pay that down quickly as well. But you should know what your outstanding payment is and just make sure that you have the money set aside to pay down your debt. Once you've allocated your dollars, paid down your debt, don't have any credit card debt outstanding, your next priority should be to plan for an emergency and develop 6 months worth of your needs, living expenses in a high yield savings account. You need to make sure that you're taking 20% of your paycheck, putting that to the side and making sure that that bucket is filled because you need to protect yourself in the event of emergency. And the responsible decision and the simple decision to do here is just make sure that you're set and ready to go in case anything were to happen to you. When you have that set to the side, that's kind of your short-term goals, your intermediate term goals. Then you got to think a little bit longer term. You need to think about your retirement. So max out what you can from your 401k. If you set it and forget it, you're starting to plan long-term for that. And so by developing a plan over the next 20, 30, 40 years, you should be able to build up enough of a nest egg so that you'll be comfortable long-term when it comes to retirement. Other goals, everybody has different situations. If owning a home is something that you want to do, that will fall somewhere in between paying off your credit card debt and making sure that you're set up for retirement. So if you want to develop a plan to have enough for a down payment, then make sure that with the 20% that you're paying for yourself, you put it into a bucket so that whether it's a high yield savings account or an investment account where you can see your dollars grow a little bit more over time, make sure that you're just planning for that appropriately. Set an appropriate time horizon, might even be 3 to 5 years, and just be consistent with it. Once you put the legwork up front to simplify your finances and automate everything, then your next best friend is just time and consistency. So what I recommend doing, put the time up front, get your finances in order, automate everything, and then let time do its thing and revisit your finances every year or couple of years. And if you're consistent with it, then I promise you that you'll be in a better position than you are today.